Hi, I'm Danny, and this is my August wrap-up. The first book I finished this month was The Secret Diamond Sisters by Michelle Maddow. This is about three sisters, Peyton, Savannah, and Courtney, who find out that their dad is this hotel billionaire that lives in Las Vegas. And when their mother goes to rehab, they go to live with their father in Vegas for the summer. This book was actually pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot better than I did my first contemporary, which is one of the things I was so worried about entering this book, that I wouldn't enjoy it. But I actually enjoyed it, and each sister's truly had their own personality. I enjoyed seeing the kind of heiress lifestyle. I mean, you see it in movies and you hear about it and stuff, but this is more of three regular girls who didn't have much to start with finding out that they are heiresses. Each one made their own mistakes. Peyton, I have to say, probably annoyed me the most. Only one of her decisions throughout this entire book was truly a bad one, and it kind of spiraled into a whole bad situation. And then there is Savannah. Savannah just annoyed me to no end. Pretty much every decision she made I feel was wrong. Like throwing herself at a boy she wasn't even sure she liked, and then falling so hard for him so quickly without even knowing if he truly even liked her. I mean, they hung out, he tried to make out with her once, and then she just kind of automatically assumed they would stay together. And then there's Courtney. Courtney was probably my favorite character because she's probably the most like me, I guess. All her decisions were great, and even the guy she fell for was forbidden, and she tried her best to stay away from him, but of course in the end it ended up not working. But I truly loved all her decisions, and she's probably my favorite character. I liked all the girls together as a whole, but Courtney is definitely my favorite, and I think I will pick up the second book, which I think is Diamonds in the Rough. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The second book I finished this month was the graphic novel of Bram Stoker's Dracula. This book was terrible. There's no other word for it. I've read both the book and seen the movie, and while the movie differs a little bit from the book, as movies usually do for book adaptations, this was truly terrible. It's like our main character, Mina, it's like she had no personality whatsoever. She did what she was told, and I understand for the era it's set in, women did do that, but in the book she wasn't like that at all. She had her own mind and feelings and stuff, and while the book covered the basics of what happens in the book, it also deviated a lot and skimmed over a lot of things that were important to the story. And I guess it's a graphic novel and they can't fit all of it in, but they could have done a better job. Even if it meant making it a little longer, it really could have used it. But this book was just terrible. I'm sure that when I do my next on haul, this book will be in that. I gave this a 1 out of 5 star on Goodreads. The third book I finished this month was Furious by Jill Wolfson. This is about 3 high school girls who find out that they have the power of the Furies. And as I said before, they are angry before the story even starts. Each one of them for their own reasons. But it all pretty much wraps up to they don't like their lives. That's pretty much how it wraps up. Our 3 characters are Meg, Alec, and Stephanie. Meg is the main character, and so the whole book is told from pretty much her point of view. And they meet this girl named Ambrosia who starts to teach them not only what it means to be a Fury, but to embrace their power. But yeah, this actually gave a lot more to the history that I actually knew. So I actually learned something from different about the story by reading this book. Like, I knew the Furies had started from like the soul of an angry princess, although I never quite knew what happened to that princess to make her angry, and this book actually explains it. So as a whole, I gave this a 3-star rating on Goodreads. It was okay. Wasn't the best Greek mythology book I've ever read, but it was pretty good and entertaining. Next, I read The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Adi. Oh, I can never remember how to pronounce her last name. But I actually have a book review on this, and I will link it below if you want to watch it. And I really did enjoy this book. It was much better than I thought it was going to be. Me and historical fictions and romances don't get along so well, so I was actually surprised that I enjoyed this so much. And this is the first book in a trilogy, I think. I'm not quite sure. I know book 2 is already being made, especially since there is a peek of it in the back of this book. This book is about a girl named Sharzad who volunteers to be married to a boy king who takes a different bride every night and kills her the next dawn. And his last bride was her best friend named Shiza. And so Sharzad, or Sharzi, volunteers to become his bride, and she plans to, after she figures out why he's doing this, she plans to kill him. And it was a very good read. Truly nothing was as it seemed in this book. And as you can see from all my bookmarks, I bookmarked all my favorite parts of this book, and there were a few. Most of them were the scenes between Sharzad and Khalad, the king. And before I went into this book, I heard that there was insta-love in this book, and I've read a few insta-love books, and I found them a little unbelievable. I mean, I could believe that maybe love at first sight could happen, but a lot of the ones I've read, I just couldn't believe them. But this one I actually believed. It wasn't love at first sight. They got to know each other before they realized that they were attracted to each other. And so yeah, I definitely like this book. It wasn't quite a 4-star for me. It was like maybe a 3.7, I think. And so yeah, I recommend this book if you're thinking about reading it and not quite sure if you might want to. I definitely recommend it. And I'm gonna squeeze this book in here because someone who subscribes to me here also follows me on Twitter, and she noticed that even though I had a book review up for this book, I never actually included it in my May wrap up, and I feel so stupid because it was my favorite book of May. I loved this book, and that is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And this is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, but as with all of Sarah's books, while it may start out as kind of a fairy tale, the book takes off on its own and it becomes its own story. And I love this book so much. The chemistry between Feyre and Tamlin and all the characters, I loved everyone. I loved almost everyone in this book. There were two characters that I could not stand, and that is the evil villain of this book and Reese. I can never remember how to pronounce his dang name. But I love this book. I gave this a 4.5 stars in May. And yeah, you should definitely read it. Next I have Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. This is the sequel to Throne of Glass. And this picks up like 2 months after Throne of Glass ends. Like, I love pretty much every part of Throne of Glass. This one had parts I wasn't so crazy about. It definitely didn't go where I thought it would. I was so worried starting this book because I have read awesome first books in a series or trilogy or whatever, and then the second book I get it and it's just like, I don't think I want to read the third one now. And so I was so worried going into this one, especially since I already have book 3 and book 4 I'm sure I will be getting for my birthday, so I was worried. But I definitely did enjoy it. It didn't go in the direction I thought it would. Some of the things that I expected to happen did happen, and then there were other things I was just kind of blown away by. And one of the things I was so nervous going into this book about is I have a friend. She's actually thinking about starting her own booktube channel, so if she does start one, I will tell you guys about it at a later date. But we were planning to read this book together, and I hit that reading slump that I mentioned, and so it took me a little longer to get to this book. By the time I got to the first 100 pages, I'd say, my friend had finished the book, and I asked her, without giving me any spoilers, how did you feel about the book? And she described it in 2 words: Team Kale. And both her and I were Team Dorian when we read Throne of Glass, and so I was prepared for something miraculous to happen that would make me Team Kale, and I'm not. I'm not. I'm still Team Dorian. So I don't know what she saw that made her suddenly become Team Kale, but I'm still Team Dorian. The end of this book, oh my god, the end of this book. I kind of suspected something like it would happen. So when we got to the end and we found out, I was like, oh my god. I'm literally sitting on the couch reading going, oh my god. Now that I think back at it, my family probably thought I was a little crazy, but oh my god. I did not expect it. I've heard of books that have a twist that you don't even see coming. Even after it happens, you can't believe it, and that is the part I just could not believe. So I gave this a 4-star rating on Goodreads. All right, now this book I did not get to finish this month. I got to the first 50 pages of this book before my month was up, and I plan to continue on to it for next month, and that is Airfire by Sarah J. Maas, the 3rd book in the Throne of Glass series. Oh god, I had a brain fart. Airfire, and this is the 3rd book in the Throne of Glass series, and of course I can't go into anything about the description of this book because it would spoil the previous 2 books. But I can tell you that I am enjoying it so far. It is kind of dark at the moment, actually. More dark than even its predecessor was. And so right now it's a little dark, but I am enjoying it. Oh, that is my August wrap up, and I will see you in my September TBR. Bye! Oh, one last thing. I'm thinking about doing a bookshelf tour, but I'm not quite sure. I'm thinking the On My Shelfie tag or bookshelf tour. Which one would you guys like to see next? The On My Shelfie tag is like pick a book, pick a shelf, and then pick a random number on that shelf, talk about the book, what rating you gave it, how you felt about it, yada yada. And then a whole bookshelf tour will be showing you every book on my shelf. Leave a comment below and let me know. I will see you guys next week. Bye!